Welcome to Let's Start a Band podcast. At 10 years old, I borrow a guitar and three chords in Glasgow. Today's guest is an unbelievable one. I'm so happy to have him on here because this Sunday he is playing British Summertime at Hyde Park. It's going to be incredible. So many people as he supports Lewis Capaldi. This is going to be an amazing story, and this is Let's Start a Band podcast. First of all, welcome. How are you doing today?
I am very well, mate. Good to be here. I just literally arrived in London, so I'm a little bit jet lagged, but I couldn't sleep till like 4 a.m. or something yesterday. But we are here and we're alive. We're kicking.
Hey, you need to be rested and prepared for Sunday. So this
Yeah.
podcast is for musicians who are really taking their and building their career, not just a following, and we want to get into it. I'm really excited to hear about your story of where that's come from. No major label co-sign, just years of relentless gigging, the voice that Donovan described as having the hunger to communicate, and an amazing work ethic as well. Your song June in July has 750,000 streams. There's not been loads of new music. There was one single last year which was
Yeah.
brilliant, so we're excited to hear where that's kind of going to go. But I've been told that you might be recording your debut album in Los Angeles right now. What can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, I've just signed to a label out in the States. Um, and yeah, it's good. It's the first time. Like, so pretty much I've signed a couple of deals in the past. I mean, actually, everything I've released, I've recorded and signed a deal to, and but it's mainly been licensed deals and things, and there's been no actual major spend behind any of it. So everything that you see now is just kind of just, I mean, it's been very, very minimal spending and marketing and everything like that. That's just mainly, and that's why I've not released for a while because I've been trying to like make sure I get everything in place for a proper release and like actually going. So it's, in some weird way, it feels like I'm starting now, even though I've been playing for years and years. It feels like this is the time that I'm really giving it a go, you know. So that's good. I will be recording my yeah. I'm just sort of sorting out what songs I'm going to put on the album. The plan will probably be I'll do I'll probably do an EP. I'll probably do three singles and an EP, and then I'll do an album. Just to get me a bit more momentum because I've not released, as I say, in a couple of years. And I just want to give the best leadway and lead time to like build up again.
Mate, what an exciting time to be speaking to you. I want to go back to the very start. What was your first memory of music?
My first memory of music, well, that would be probably in the car in a Suzuki Swift, with my mum playing a tape, which was the Carpenters, and it was like I mean, I loved this tape, and I loved the Gold album with the Carpenters, and I mean, it's really not very cool music, I wouldn't say now, but, and I remember that it was around the time that people would rob the radios from cars because they could sell them, and, one time the front window was smashed and the radio was robbed, but also along with it, the Carpenters tape was robbed, and I was very upset with that. So it's what y'all been
But
about.
how old would you have been at that?
I'd have probably been, I mean, honestly, that would have been when I was living in Renfrew. So that would have been probably 3. I was probably about 3 or 4.
My
They're
goodness.
really, really young. Um,
Talk to
I'm
me about
glad
the
that when I got
first.
older, my music taste grew a little bit.
Definitely. At a very young age to remember things. Talk to me about the first song you ever wrote. What was it called and how do you feel about it now?
I was in love with this girl in primary school, called Katie. Um, and I wrote a song. I remember it goes, because when I saw you over there, I thought, hey, you look good. And then I saw you with that guy, and then you looked me straight in the eye. That was what it was. It was a really, I don't know how it went from after that, but I do. That was like the first song I ever wrote. I was probably like in primary 5 or something, primary six. So I don't know what age I would be in primary 6, 9 or something, 8, 8, 9. Um,
That's unbelievable that
and
you remember it. But how do you feel about it now when you look back? That is the first song you ever wrote.
yeah, I feel like it was. I mean, it was in these, I was just a child. I mean, I really thought I was in a rom-com. I thought that Katie was the love of my life, you know? And I couldn't tell you anything about her now, to be honest with you.
Kate, if you're listening, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, exactly. Write me a letter or something, Keith. Fuck's sake. Oh, yeah, I'm allowed to swear?
Yes, of course you can, mate. So I want to take you back and find out if this story is true. So you're out busking in Glasgow. You're singing Donovan's song "Colors," and Donovan himself walks up to you. Is it true? What happens after that? Talk me through it.
So this is kind of true. Yeah, I'm giving you a scoop, right? Okay, so what it was Donovan, so pretty much, we thought we'd try and market it right. So pretty much what happened was Donovan was going to be in Glasgow. He got his gig cancelled, right? And he was meant to be in Glasgow, and so he was meant to be in Glasgow. And randomly, I knew his niece.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, this gig get cancelled." And I thought to myself, as like I was like, "Oh, do you know what we could do? We could like stage a thing so he could get a little bit of press, and now it will help me in my brain." So what it was because I didn't know the songs already, and then so what I was doing, I said, "How about Donovan walks past me, and then we join and he plays a song with me. I get some press, he gets some press, and we go around and just have a bit of fun, right?" And so it was actually a kind of staged marketing thing. But at the time, that's how we sold it to the papers, was I was just playing a Donovan song and he walks past, blah, blah, blah. But it was a thing of like how to generate the best, most successful kind of press. Because at that point, I had like, I mean, I had a crowd built already, and then when Donovan came, it was like the crowd kept bigger, and like people started to realize what was going on. It was cool, and then really he became a mentor to me. That was the first time I'd ever met him. He kind of became a mentor to me, and we played a bunch of shows together, and went around and did radio things together and everything. And it was quite fun. It was cool. So he taught me like some finger picking techniques I still play today. And yeah, I mean, I was just like I was just talking to him, and like the things I mean, he was at the Beatles trip in India. He was friends with, he brought got Jimi Hendrix a big gig in America when he was coming up and things like that. I mean, like he really had experienced like the heyday of 60s music, you know, and so it's kind of crazy hearing it, just stories from his mouth. It was kind of crazy.
It's unbelievable for me hearing that for it, like other artists. Like, go and do guerrilla marketing, go and do stuff in verse. I love the blossoms that this huge gorilla they put around. It's really interesting to hear that. Another rumor I heard, the moment was quite significant. Is it true that Glen Hansard sees you busking when you're 14, gives you a ticket to a show, and pulls you on stage? That must be mental. He was at the time. Was he your favorite musician at that point? Talk
Yeah,
me through it.
yeah, that one was real. That one was real. So I was busking, and I'd broken a couple of strings. I think I was singing a Stereophonics song at the time, and Glen Hansard was in the audience. I saw him, and I was like, called him over. I would have been 13, probably 13 or 14, maybe 14. And then and I was like, "Oh, can we play a song?" And he was like, "Nah, man, you've broken a couple of strings, you know, like, I can't play a song." Which, and obviously, yeah. So I'd broken a couple of, and he was like, "Well, how about I'll give you a couple of tickets. So you want to come to the show? I'm playing a show in 2 days' time." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." So he put me on the guest list for the show. And then as we went to the show, he kind of recalled the story on stage, and he was like, "Oh, you know, I was walking and I saw this young busker, and he goes, are you Murdo?" And he points to somebody who's not me. And I'm like, "No, no, I'm up here." So I'm like, and then he's like, "Yeah," he was just wonderful. And and he asked me to play the song, and I said no. And then somebody in the audience behind me just shouted, "Do it now." And then everyone started, "Yeah, do it now, do it now." And they all just started shouting this. And then he was like, "Murdo, you want to come up?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah." So that was what happened. I went up on stage. It was an old fruit market. Only time I've ever played there, actually. And uh, and he gave me his guitar. And then the funny thing is that obviously, if you know anything about Glen Hansard's guitars, there's a big hole in it. You know, there's like a big, famously, he's played through the guitar, and it's just this big hole in the guitar. And I remember thinking, wow, you know, you wouldn't play with two broken strings, but you play, oh, you play with this big, this thing, it'll break your wrist, you know. Um, and so then I started playing a song, and I remember his whole band joining in because they were obviously great musicians, and it was one of the best. It was one of the best moments, probably, in terms of like he was the most. It was like a feeling of a high from that young age that I felt like I had to feel again. It was like, wow, I had such a high. I had such a, and I loved his music, but then he instantly became like a really huge inspiration in my musical kind of journey. And then for years later, I was very much like, I need to. My whole goal is to support him, and I really wanted to support him. And I was like, what I kind of fixed on. I said, if I support Glen Hansard, I'll feel good, and I won't care about doing anything else. And in 2023, I supported him, uh, and I probably didn't even take that moment as a second thought. I just became like, "Ah, yeah, cool, no problem." And I just passed it on to the next thing, you know? Even though I spent, like, a lot of my life just like, I just hope this moment comes round, and it came round eventually, and it was beautiful. Anyway, I now know him you know, I kept in contact, and we're fairly good friends now, but he's just, he's an unbelievable musician, and if anybody has a chance to see him live, please do go and see him live, because I think you will be blown away by
He's
just how good his
he's
live
actually
shows.
touring, I believe, Ireland at the end of this year, and it's still such demand for him, and he's such a talent, isn't it?
Well, he's able to, he's got the best type of fame, I would say, 'cause he can tour I mean, he toured for years and years, like, all like, South America, North America, uh, Europe, he does, like, 2,000 cap rooms, right? But he can also walk down the street and nobody knows who he is, and so I think you've kinda got a perfect balance of, like, cult fame and, like, respect within the industry to not getting hassled in your day-to-day life, and it's like, he gets to just play his shows all year round, and he's like the musician's musician. All he knows everybody at the top level, and everyone loves him, and, you know, I know Lewis is a massive fan of him, and, like, Niall Horan, all these people, they're all, like, big, you know, they love his music and everything, and Billie Eilish and his or Phineas, like, I think Phineas named him as his favorite artist and things like that. It's like, so it's like he's in amongst, like, a big scene, but he also is just one of those people that can walk around and not be seen.
There's not many people on the planet that sit there, is there, where they get
Yeah, it's
the
kind of
best
this,
of
like, it's
both?
a perfect balance. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
is a perfect balance. I'd love that'd be like the perfect scenario.
For yourself, at what point did you think, "Yeah, I'm gonna go all in here. You know, I'm going to do music. I'm going to be an artist. This is my life." When did you know that? And what was kind of the turning point for you?
I would say that I would say that I like it probably when I was yeah, probably very early on when I was busking and I made some money and I thought, wow, I'm making money and I'm not very good. And I really thought I will push on with this uh with this career really. And I think that you I don't think there was a certain moment where I was like, I need to do this. I felt like it just naturally progressed to like, oh shit, I can't really that way where I remember when I was going to London, I was moving to London when I was like, I said I was gonna move when I was 16.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 16, I hadn't moved. Yeah, I hadn't moved, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll move next year." And then at some point, I was like, "I better fucking just move." So I moved to London when I was like 17, 18, roughly. Didn't know anybody, but I told everybody that I was moving, so I had to do it, you know? And it was just that kind of way where I kind of progressed. And I was like, "I'm gonna do it. I can do this. I can do this." And it was like, I now need to do it. I now need to back it up, you know? And I always felt like I always loved performing. I love like that's the kind of that's where I sit. That's my favorite bit about music is the performance and the live shows and touring. My goal now is to tour from January to December 1 year and do the whole year. Uh, whether that be not
Would you split
tour,
that
like,
between, like, UK, US? I mean, you play all around the
yeah,
place now.
like but constant, like the most amount of days between shows, 3.
Okay.
Like, you know, like I want to tour from January to December, do a whole year, and then I'll take a year off or something. Fuck yeah, and then I'll take a year to chill and write music and just have a nice time. But I want to tour solidly for a full year. I want to do that. I want to put myself to the test, and I don't think I will burn out. I have I get charged from it. You know, I really get energy from playing live.
It's amazing to hear that, and to understand it. I'm gonna say an artist name. I want you to describe them in 3 words. Dylan John Thomas.
Describe the artist,
Yeah,
like the
describe
person.
Dylan for me in 3 words.
Uh, in 3 words, talented. Um, 3 words is hard. Talented. Uh, autistic, um, and yeah, great guy. I know that's two words, but he's just like Dylan's like
Is it true, genuinely? You met him again busking out in
yeah,
Glasgow?
I mean, he's my best mate. He's like, I was on the I saw him yesterday, actually. He was in London yesterday. But I met him when we were busking. We used to hate each other. So initially, he'd have one spot and I'd have the other spot. And at the time, you'd have girls hanging around watching your sets.
Yeah.
Um, and the big girls come down and go, Dylan says he would batter you. I was like, "Will you go tell Dylan that I'd kick his head in," you know? So there's all that kind of stuff, right? And Dylan was awful when he started busking. I mean, he was really bad. Like, he was not a good singer. He was genuinely dreadful. Like, I mean, I honestly think he was dreadful. And I was equally bad. I was so bad, and we weren't good. But we both had our inflated egos, and we thought we were kind of the best. And then I remember it was like this, the meeting of us both actually finally meeting, and it was like, uh, Dylan would call it like a story, and it's like, oh, we're walking up to each other, we're gonna fight, and it's just like, what's happening, mate? We're next to each other, and then it was like we became good friends, and then even like, I mean, Dylan used to busk a lot, and like even when I moved out to London, he came down to stay with me, and we busked in Leicester Square together. That was where we met somebody from Radio X, introduced him to one of his managers now, and like he's genuinely a really great guy. And the reason I say autistic, that's obviously a bit tongue in cheek, but he can become very, very focused on something. So if he really, like, he hyper focuses on things, and it's like
Your
annoying. For
power, isn't it?
instance, it's a superpower, but it's annoying. For instance, we played pool. We used to go to the pool hall every day after busking. We spend a lot of 50p's in the pool hall in Glasgow. And I remember beating him 9 games in a row at pool. And I said as a joke, "Oh, well, first to 10 games." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah, cool." And he goes in the toilet, splashes his face with water, comes out, and he beats me 10 games in a row. And I was like, "Oh, damn, oh, it's been on, man." I was like, "This is the most annoying thing ever." And like, he's like, sort of got it when he gets really involved in games, and like, you get like when we play FIFA, he gets like, I'll beat him, and then he'll just like the next day if I beat him like 3 days in a row, whatever, the next day he'll come in and he'll just be like, he'll have worked out the tactics to beat my formula. And it's just like, fuck, it's just so annoying. And so he gets really hyper focused on, like, he did that in music, and he gets really, he doesn't get the credit for how good a songwriter he is. He's a really, really talented songwriter. His songs are very, very intricate. He has really intricate verses, and with his playing is unbelievable. His finger picking is unbelievable, and his choruses are big for the dancey, bouncy tunes that everyone can have. But he's and he's hyper focused on golf now. And I honestly, like when we've played golf 4 times, and I beat him twice years ago, and then he beat me the last 2 times, and so I don't ever want to play him again. Just so I can always keep it 2-2. But he gets hyper focused, and he will get his name on on the championship board and his golf course. 100% believe it. Like he is one of those people that when he focuses on something, he just like it's just like that, and it's great. It's annoying sometimes, but it's great.
There's a similar theme here of how much, the streets of Glasgow and busking, and it is a music city, and they do care. And it's been a real theme across your career. I want to touch upon songwriting. What happens if you hit a songwriter's block? Do you go away and leave it? Do you keep trying to do it? Like, how do you know when the track's finished?
Yeah,
What's the process like for yourself?
that's a good question. I think when I hit a block, songwriting is it's when life is too easy, when life is too good, when there's not enough in it. That's when I've mostly hit a block. If life is like, you either need to be really, really good or really, really bad, and you write your best songs at both of those peaks, whether it be really inspired about something or really depressed about something. And sometimes there's times you just hit the button in order to blow shit up, in order to write about, and I don't think that's a very healthy thing to do. But I do think the best songs are the ones that come out fairly fast. Um, or the more, it's like that thing, the more truthful you get to a song, the more specific you get to a song, the more widely it's received. Um, and so but there is ways to like counter that. So if you're writing sessions and things like that, if you're in sessions, and you can, you can build the track up first with the music and then write the music, or you can start with a theme. I tell you what, we're going to write this not as like an emotional thing that's happened to you. We write it about a subject that's like, as if you are Johnny from down the road and you own the fish and chip shop and you're writing a song about the fish and chip shop and the day-to-day working of that. And so there's ways to like, there's just different ways to start it, and you can start it in different ways. And I think that really helps when you're in a kind of rut, when nothing's coming out naturally. And it's probably the more healthy way to do it. So like when I wrote French Defense, my songs, like that was very much like in the studio. We built it, we got the vibe, we got the kit in it, and it was sounding good. We built it up, and it was like that. It feels like more of like a social commentary kind of song. Let's write about that, and really hone in on like other people involved in it, and others' experiences as well as your own experience, but others' experiences rather than just your own experience. You know.
It's great advice to hear. I think a lot of people, a lot of our listeners will be really taking that on board. You've really, seen this industry. I know you feel like you're just coming through now, but what's the biggest lie the music industry tells independent artists?
The biggest lie. Oh, that's good. The biggest lie the music industry tells an independent artist is, mm, probably the thing of there's no magic button. I know that sounds like a thing. Like a lot of people will say, it's kind of there's no person that can change things. And it's like there is. That's true. But there is also people that can. Like there is. Like and so like you can chuck a song out and it will do nothing. But then if you really release a song properly, there's higher chances of success with a song. So it's like there isn't. You can't just make something. Well, you see, you can't make something go viral. Well, you can in theory as well. I mean, there is people like there is people. It's very unlikely to meet these people, but there is people that can show like that push people on. There's people that work at TikTok. TikTok has algorithms, but there is also people that can click a viral button that shows your video to more people. You know, there is these kind of promotions, and so the thing is, it's like meeting these people is the hardest thing, and like getting them on your side. But I mean, even at the time of like Spotify when it started coming out, like the curating playlists around the time Capaldi was kicking off and everything, that was like somebody at Spotify that was curating all these playlists. Now they've really zoned in the algorithmic playlists, and there's lots of them. So there's the really changing of careers doesn't happen as much just from Spotify playlists, but at the time it did because there wasn't as many playlists and it was very curated, and so that meant there was just one person at Spotify that your manager needed to know and drink with and take drugs with would then literally put you on the playlist. It's a people business. Everything's a people business. And I think if you're good at talking to people and networking without it feeling like a network, it's like this thing of people always shit talk LA and everything, but in LA it's like you're able to. It's people say it's really transactional and really like it's fake. And it's like, it's not really fake. It can be transactional and not fake. It's just like a thing of like, how can you help me? How can I help you? Let's work together. Let's do something. You're driven. I'm driven.
Finding win-wins in the music industry is massive, isn't it? I think that is
Yeah.
how really you climb that ladder.
Yeah, for sure. And also with I feel in America there's more like in the UK I feel it's slightly different. I feel like when you're in the UK, in order for somebody to bet on you, you need to have really proved the concept. So it's like you start like, well, I'm not gonna give you 100 grand because why would I give you 100 grand when I can't see how I'm gonna make that money right back? Because right now your last song didn't make 100 grand, or this bit didn't, right now you're in debt to what you spent and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that's cool. In America, that you're more likely to get a buzz off the person, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, I thought like fuck yeah, man. I like your vibe, man. Let's go. They're more likely to just chuck into the we're more likely to just like back the person rather than the process. And it's kind of probably adds into that kind of American dream. You can come to America and fucking do it. And I feel like that's why I gravitated over there. It feels more inspiring to me. Maybe it's just because I'm slightly different. I'm a Scottish guy in LA. That's also could be a factor, but it feels more inspiring to me in America with the kind of attitude of Americans than in the UK. It can bum me out here.
Mm. Yeah, I hear that, and I hear that quite a lot actually, which is really interesting to hear. This Sunday, you're on the Grey Oak stage at Hyde Park supporting Lewis Capaldi. It's one of the biggest stages in the UK. What do you think the 10-year-old you writing a song about Katie, what do you think at this moment?
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing. It's like I think that I always kind of answer on a cynical side of like, well, when I'm headlining, that'll be the moment I feel something. But it's interesting when you speak about it, it's like you have to take your wins, don't you? It's like you, uh, I was speaking to my friend who's a producer, a movie producer, and he was saying, you're doing really well. You just sold out your tour and everything. And I was like, yeah, but they're only 300 cap rooms, or like I'd minimize it. And I said, like, I feel like I'm pushing a rock up a hill. And when I get to the top, I'll feel like, I'll feel the thing, And he's
So
like, no,
it's
no.
always that next thing is what you
Yeah, there's
it's
always
always
exactly, but the thing is, you got to enjoy the fucking. What you have to enjoy your wins, because by the way, when you're at the top, you don't know you're at the top. What happens? You lose Capaldi, you do 2 nights at Hyde Park. Why didn't you do three? Or like, or you win a Grammy, and it's like, yeah, but I could win a Grammy twice in a row. Or like, it's like, and it's the same thing with actors when they win an Oscar. It's like it's the same thing when with anything really. I think you've got to take your you have to appreciate, like, if I could go back 5 years and say, wow, yeah, I'm selling my own European tours, and I'd be like, wow, yeah, this is cool. This is so cool, So as a kid, yeah, that would be the biggest, like, to look up now, I'd be seriously happy with where I'm at, you know. But I think there's also that thing, you can't rest on your laurels. You kind of go, you kind of, there's a lot I want to do. There's a
that
lot I want to
desire,
achieve.
that hunger to move on, and practically,
I just hope it's a good. I hope it's good. I hope I play well. I hope I play well, and I hope
yeah.
that the people will appreciate it.
How
That's
how how do
like
you
it.
prepare for a show that size? What's different about performing to 10,000s of people rather than those sold out 300 cap events? Like, for you as an artist,
Yeah.
a different mentality, or do you go in with the same kind of the way you always prepare?
Well, actually, initially, I thought I was playing a small stage. This is like a couple of stages at height summertime. I thought I was playing a small stage, uh, and it wasn't until like 3 days ago that I was like, "Oh, I better just check what what this stage is." And I click, "Oh shit, no, this is it's just a fucking good stage." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I was like that. So in my brain, I was like, I need to, I need to, I probably should have a band with me just to make the sound bigger, but I'm going to go rip it acoustic. I'm going to go rip it with my acoustic guitar. I like a challenge of like winning people over. I feel as if from a busking mentality of like, I like playing acoustic. I like the challenge it brings. I can play the dynamics and everything, but it will be harder on a stage that size, but we will see. And I mean, look, it'll probably be better than all of other losing other Capaldi's other sport acts. They're getting ripped on TikTok, so. If it goes bad, I'm just gonna say my name's one of their names. No, yeah, I'm just, which is unfair, by the way, because both of those, both. I don't know if you've seen any of the TikToks, but like I've seen a couple of things online. It's like Tyler Ballgame and Jacob Alon, who I think are both incredible artists. They've had some bad press on TikTok from the average fan, and I think you've got to take that in mind though when you're going on to playing a show. It's like that thing of like, you'd be pissed off if Oasis in their comeback tour didn't play Wonderwall. You have to play. Yeah, yes, you want to play for yourself, but you also need to play for your audience a little bit, and you need to give them something. And sometimes if you're playing, like when I support Dylan John Thomas, by the way, it'll be a different set to when I'm supporting Lewis Capaldi. It'll
Yeah.
be a different set to when I'm supporting Katie Tunstall, because Katie Tunstall's age range, you'll have a older audience. You'll have a majority older audience than you. When you're supporting Dylan John Thomas, you're gonna have working class 14 to 16-year-olds, that are sniffing poppers and taking their first pills, and then like one of the gigs for Dylan, it was like, wait, yeah, there was a knife or somebody who was it was like nobody was there when I played because the police had turned up and not let anybody in because they were searching everybody. It took so long to let anyone into the Barrowlands because it was like, as something was found or something. So it's like, you have to be aware of your audience and be aware of uh, be aware of to not change yourself, but sculpt the thing too.
The environment affects it, and
It's like
playing to the
when
people.
you bus. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're busking. It's like if I see somebody old, I'm not going to play Avicii. I'm going to play Johnny Cash. And it's just having the ability to like understand where people. When you're young, when the younger audiences have less attention span, you got to do more to keep their attention. You just got to perform more, and you've got to like, yeah. So, but yeah, yeah, I'm prepared.
You've answered that amazingly. It's brilliant advice. Obviously, the album's coming up. You're sitting on a backlog of songs. What can you
Yeah.
tell us? What does this album mean to you? How is it different from maybe previous releases? Talk to me about that.
Okay, so I think the majority of when I play live is when I'm most comfortable, and it translates music the best when I'm playing live. A lot of my recorded stuff right now doesn't give the same effect of what it is live. So I'm trying to right now really push into making the record sound as if what it is live. And I think I've always struggled with overcooking, I think, songs in the studio. I'm sure a lot of people do that. And so I'm trying to strip back now, like take a step back off the production and like kind of make the parts that are not perfect to the parts people love and the parts that like keep it interesting. And this record, I mean, some of the songs in this record of when I was at my most inspired time of just starting a new relationship and feeling like the world was bright again. The colors went back into the picture, you know, in a sense. And then some of the songs about the lowest points of like letting people down that you don't want, that I didn't want to do that. You know, letting people down and hurting people that I didn't want to do hurt. And it's not a great feeling. It's a feeling of guilt and everything. I always try and write very. I just try and write be as honest, and I always show the harsh parts of myself. I think in my music. I mean, even like June and July, that song was like we just chucked it out. There was no marketing spend. There was no nothing. It was an acoustic live session recording, so there was no spend on it. It was the one that resonated the most with people, and it's also a song that's about, you know, oh no, you'll get me in trouble. I don't mind though. I'm undressing you with my eyes, with my mind. What a beautiful sight. And then it's talking about when you asked me for the truth, I lied to you about it all. You know, and it's just like it's just me. Just it's like the worst part of uh, yourself. You're lying to somebody. You're cheating somebody almost. You know, and it's just like it's yeah. It's not
There's a deep meaning behind it. And in terms of
yeah.
sound, is it, you know, distinctive to you, or
It's
you
going to be.
touch?
It's going to be. I want to balance it between raw acoustic kind of guitar sounds. Sorry, there's some kids screaming outside my window. Acoustic sounds. I'd love to kind of emulate that of like a lot like Paolo Nutini and like these kind of people. Like I love and Glen Hansard. I'd love a mix between that kind of feel. I do love indie shit as well. I really do like. I feel like One Glass or French Defense of mine are more indie leaning, more and I really like that as well. So I'll be chucking a couple of kind of songs like that in it. So it's gonna be a kind of it's gonna be me. It's gonna be hopefully a body of work I can go. That is Murdo. That's Murdo Mitchell. That's not. It's not this. It's not that. It's not this. It's that's Murdo. You know. That's what I'd like to achieve.
Amazing. It's amazing to hear this, and what a story it's been.
See if you like your indie music with your Two Door Cinema Club and Catfish
Yeah, you
records
can
behind.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I love that. They just announced a tour, haven't they? They're comeback for their that album they're gonna be playing. That'll be so. I want to go to that, but I think I'm gonna be in America. But that'd be sort of
Yeah, I literally I saw them and was with them actually at Isle of Wight Festival a couple of weeks ago.
nice.
I haven't caught up with them in years, so it was really nice to speak to them. And yeah, I absolutely adore that first album.
That first album, I mean, it was sonically the sound of it. It was like, what the hell? You listen to it and you can feel like, yeah, you know, you can listen to it, you can kind of almost, you know what the sounds are and everything. But they were kind of revolutionary in that moment,
It was
in that era.
absolutely. What does success look like for Murdo Mitchell in 5 years? Be really specific here. What do you want to achieve in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, yeah. In the next 5 years, I want to be playing 1,000 cap rooms in Europe, UK, and America.
Mhm.
Uh, and be able to tour 3 times a year, 4 times a year comfortably. I want to have an album that I'm really happy with, but that should hopefully be not as long as 5 years. 5 years is hard to plan. If I can go 5 years back, it's like
Yeah.
my life has changed exponentially. And I want to be. Fuck, I don't know, man. It's really. I want to maybe. Mm, I want to buy a house maybe from music. I don't know. Would I say that? Would I want to buy? I want to be? I want to be. Shit, I don't know. Yeah, I want to be able to play 1,000 cap rooms, and I want to be able to tour a bunch, and I want to have an album that I'm happy with, and yeah, I've started managing an artist as well,
Mm,
and so I'd like that artist to have been relatively successful as well.
mm. That's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Well, this has
But
been
I'm not going to tell you anything about her yet because we've not like launched properly or anything. But I will in the right time. But she's absolutely unbelievable.
incredible. Mate, this has been everything I hoped it would be. You're one of those artists that the more you dig into the story, the more there's revealed, more in the industry and everything underneath. It's been phenomenal. I know there'll be so many thousands of artists absolutely loving this. So thank you for staying with us.
Yeah,
If
we
you
talked
haven't
about having me.
if you haven't streamed any of Murdo's stuff, go and check his socials, his website. The songs are absolutely phenomenal. It'll be an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much. This has been Let's Start a Band, and it's been incredible. I think every musician needs to hear this, and it's how we grow together.
Next
Before
we
we
got.
go, where can people find you?
You can find me probably just on Instagram right now. I've not got anything to really promote because I've just done my tour. I'll be doing another tour the start of next year, 2027, a Europe, American, and UK tour. And I'll be releasing my first single around about. Well, my first single. I'll be releasing my next single in the first quarter of next year, along with that tour.
I'm telling now, make sure you follow so you know when the single comes and the new album.
Nice,
Mate, best of luck and thank you so much.
nice one, bro. Cheers.